Okay, so no Larissa, right? Sylvia? Isaiah is here, right? No Ava, though. No Ryan. Benny, you came in, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Grock.
Yep, I thought I saw you. Thank you. And then no Xander yet, right? Perfect. All righty, well, happy Tuesday to you. I'm glad to see that you guys survived the Ides of March, unlike our friend Julius Caesar did, right? Centuries ago. As I told you yesterday, this week, we're going to take a look at the time period of appeasement right before the start of World War II. So basically up until pretty much September of 39 is what we're going to look at with what had happened. So today we'll take a look at appeasement and what's going on with Germany and their addition of lands in Europe, Japan, their addition of lands in Asia, and specifically North China, area known as Manchuria. We'll take a look at the Munich Agreement, which is a compact basically signed by Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, the big powers in Europe to try to avoid another war. And then you'll have the rest of the period to do the 30 map identifications for appeasement right before World War II. Tomorrow we'll look at US policy during this time period and take a deeper look into appeasement, arguments for and against, for by Neville Chamberlain, who was Prime Minister of England at the time, and then against by Winston Churchill, who will be Prime Minister of England most of World War II, right? Most of World War II. So go ahead and go to the 10th module, which is 10th week, and get to the overview page. All righty, sorry about that. All that for the wrong person. So looking at this, as I said, what we'll take a look at is this time period of appeasement. We're basically coming out of World War I, where many of these countries lost almost an entire generation of young males. They're looking to avoid another conflict. Hitler seizes upon this, and that's why he builds up the German military, which is in violation of the Treaty of Versailles. And then he starts taking portions of land back that he thought Germany should have never given up. And so we'll take a look at appeasement and what arguments are made for and against that through speeches by Neville Chamberlain and Winston Churchill. You'll look at the 30 map identifications of Europe and what Europe looked like after World War I, right before the start of World War II. And then we will look at the arguments for and against appeasement and look at exactly what happened. You can go ahead and switch to the next page, which will give us a timeline of what we're looking at. All right, so the time period that we're looking at, remember that Mussolini and his black shirts and their fascist ideology take over Italy in the early 20s, are in control into the 30s. Hitler and his Nazi party really takes hold in 32, 33 of Germany, and he has been in power for 5 or 6 years now. In 1937, as these powers are coming out of World War I, they're looking at more colonial possessions during this time period. In 1937, you have Japan invades Manchuria. It is a northern part of China, and they're basically looking for resources because Japan is a series of islands. In March of 38, Germany basically annexes Austria, where Hitler was from. They just go in, take over. There's no fight, there's no battle, there's no war. Nobody stops them. September 22nd through the 24th of 38, Chamberlain meets with Hitler. Neville Chamberlain is the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Hitler is the Chancellor of Germany. And they meet, and basically Hitler claims the Sudetenland region of Czechoslovakia, which is the southeastern portion of Germany, and basically says to Chamberlain, look, this is going to be the last thing that I take. These are the things that were wrongfully taken from us at the end of World War I, and we want them back, and we're going to take them back. And Chamberlain basically agrees to that. And on September 29th, in 1938, Germany, Italy, Great Britain, and France signed what becomes known as the Munich Agreement. All right, what becomes known as the Munich Agreement. So when we look at this, let me show you some pictures from this. So we're getting to that time period where you actually have pictures and video of what happens. So let me show you this short clip here. All right. So if you're looking at this, all right, sitting down, and I'll highlight this so you can see it. Obviously, it's black and white. This is Neville Chamberlain right here, Great Britain. That is Hitler right there. There they are signing the treaty. That's Chamberlain signing. Right there is Mussolini signing. That's Mussolini. Hitler, you see him with his Nazi emblem on the side. So that is basically the Munich Agreement. And so in this Munich Agreement, Hitler promises, look, I won't do any more. I won't take any more land. I won't cause any more problems, right? But it is not 6 months later that Germany and Hitler break that Munich Agreement and they occupy the rest of Czechoslovakia. So if you remember, Czechoslovakia was south and east of Germany, and it was a country that had never existed before World War I. After the Treaty of Versailles, it basically is taken away from the Germans and given to, the people of that land as their own country. In March of 39, France and Great Britain agreed to support Poland against Nazi aggression because they were worried about what was going to come next. Remember, Poland gained a bunch of land from Germany after World War I. In August of 39, Germany and the Soviet Union signed this Nazi-Soviet pact dividing Eastern Europe into spheres of influence, similar to what colonial powers had done, European colonial powers had done with China in the late 1880s, 1890s. September 1st of 1939, you're going to have the start of World War II as Germany invades Poland. 2 days later, Poland, after it had been invaded, Great Britain and France declare war on Germany, and you have the Second World War that comes that quickly after that situation. So it escalates very quickly from that. Chamberlain tried to avoid that war. Now, looking it over in Asia, because Japan is going to be very aggressive too in the amount of lands that they try to get. September of 38, and basically until the end of the Second World War, Japan invades Manchuria, and it is a large portion of northern China, and they basically occupy it until the end of the war. And so when you look at that, Japan is very crowded. They had a need for raw materials because they are in a set of islands. The silk trade had diminished during the Depression after World War I, which they had used that money to buy resources for things they wanted. And Japan just says, you know what, this should have been our land from the very beginning. China is easily taken over because the nationalists and the communists, remember, were involved in a civil war. Remember that Mao and Chiang Kai-shek agreed to stop fighting each other to focus their energies and resources on getting the Japanese out, because the Japanese were just ruthless. They would enslave women, they would rape women. There were large scale massacres of women, men, children, basically anybody that tried to disagree with what was going on in Manchuria. And so they would take over those certain areas, enslave the people that were there, and then send those resources back to Japan without giving any proper, right, instances to any of that. Again, on the Munich Agreement, trying to bring this up here, you can see this here, right? So again, on the Munich Agreement, Hitler had threatened to unleash a European war unless the Sudetenland, a border area of Czechoslovakia containing a majority of German ethnic people, was surrendered back to Germany. So that was Hitler's argument. The leaders of Britain, France, Italy agreed to the German annexation of the Sudetenland in exchange for a pledge from Hitler that he would take no other lands. Czechoslovakia, right, was not part of the Munich negotiations agreed under the significant pressure from Britain and France, even though, right, it was their land that maybe had been looked at and taken out of. Here you can see sort of the progression of what's going to happen under Hitler. Germans' Jews' passports were declared invalid, allowing them to leave. These are the destruction of German neighborhoods that they had talked about. And so you can see sort of what is going to happen with all of Hitler's maneuvers through this time period. Go ahead and click on the next page. All right. This here is a map of what Europe looks like after World War I, during this time of appeasement right between World War II. As I said, Hitler wanted to get this land back right here. And he basically takes the first part of that back with the Munich Agreement. And then, as I said, 6 months later, he just goes in and takes the rest of what had been taken from Germany. He annexes Austria, right, where he was born, and brings that into the German fold. And then his first act of war is going to be invade Poland here. And that's called the Blitzkrieg. Now, when that happens, Great Britain and France declare war on Germany because they had a treaty with Poland. When those two declare war, Germany and the Soviet Union had signed a pact, and so now Poland's going to be attacked from both sides, east and the west. And so it'll start World War II from there. So with this appeasement map, there are 30 identifications that you'll need to know. Right? So these are the 30 here, and you'll put all of those in, and then copy URL or take a screenshot of your submission with your green and red submissions up at the top. Tomorrow, as I said, we will take a look at what happens with the US, what the US decides to do, and a deeper look at appeasement in terms of was it right or was it wrong? The two arguments made, one by Neville Chamberlain that appeasement was the right thing to do to try to avoid war, and Winston Churchill saying, no, this was never going to work from the beginning because as soon as you showed weakness, he was going to do whatever he wants in terms of that. All right. Whoops, that's the one for tomorrow. So make sure that you finish the map exercise during this remaining time and then submit that via GoFormative. So we never saw Larissa, right? Sylvia was a no. Ava was a no. And no Xander, right? Okay. So you can stay logged in if you want to. I'll stay here. If you want to do the map logged off, that's fine. Just make sure that you submit that before the end of the period, which is 3:10, and you'll be set. And then tomorrow we'll take an in-depth look at the argument for and against appeasement. What was the right thing to do?
Bye. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye, Mr. Grog.
Take care.